Welcome to WEWIN New. Watch these jaw-dropping scenes of the most extremely dangerous aeroplane crash moments ever caught on camera. If you're hooked on high-stakes mysteries, smash that subscribe button and join the ride. In March 2018, during the Warbirds Over Wanaka International Airshow in New Zealand, pilot Arthur Dovey was uninjured when his vintage Yak 3 aircraft collided with a cherry picker while landing.
In the Yak 3. Go ahead, Fred. That's not looking good.
He's okay, that's the main thing.
Arthur's getting out, folks, so let's give him a hand. Thank you.
On April 21, 2021, during a medical transfer training operation at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, a US AF Boeing/Bell CV-22 Osprey landed on the hospital's temporary rubber mat helipad. While the vertical landing went smoothly, the real drama unfolded on takeoff. The Osprey's immensely powerful rotor downwash unleashed a forceful gust that tore the helipad's rubber surfacing to shreds, hurling debris skyward and rendering the pad unusable. Despite the unexpected descent in the hilly terrain, all passengers and crew were reported safe. The pilot displayed good presence of mind and put down the helo on the highway. The aircraft had a problem with one of its engines in Kanpur, India. The reason for leaving the runway could be that only one engine was using reverse gear. There was a person very close to the runway, glad no one was hurt. That's a bad day. 4 new blades, which are $250,000 apiece, and then every follow-on inspection for blade strike. So spindles, pitch control rods, flight controls, a main rotor rig, all sorts of inspections for damage. Location in Zagreb, Croatia. A Cirrus SF-50 Vision jet experienced a taxiway excursion and came to rest in the water of the sea lane at David Wayne Hooks Memorial Airport in Texas on May 21, 2024. The pilot and 2 passengers with their 2 dogs were not injured. The pilot reported a loss of braking. During the landing, the helicopter experienced a brake failure, and since only one brake was operational, the pilot was able to steer the aircraft only in the direction of the functioning brake. In an effort to bring the helicopter to a quicker stop and maintain control, the pilot made the critical decision to retract the nose gear, demonstrating quick thinking under pressure to safely manage the challenging situation.
Where's your fire extinguisher as well? just in case. I don't need to grab it.
Передняя стойка отвалилась.
On On May 1, 2019, Aeroflot Flight 1492, a Sukhoi Superjet 100 en route from Moscow Sheremetyevo to Murmansk was struck by lightning shortly after takeoff, causing a critical electrical failure and loss of communication. The pilots declared an emergency and began a return to Sheremetyevo. During the hard-bounced landing, the aircraft's rear landing gear collapsed, rupturing fuel tanks and triggering a devastating fire that engulfed the plane's aft section. Smoke billowed as the aircraft slid down the runway, while passengers ran to safety amid thick flames. A small plane crash took place at the ice runway in February 2025, but thankfully the pilot walked away without injury. On May 21, 2015, an aircraft executed an emergency landing at Lanseria International Airport in South Africa after experiencing a malfunction in its nose landing gear. After nearly an hour of deliberation, the pilot decided to land without the nose gear. The aircraft touched down on the main wheels and balanced on them for several meters before gently tipping forward. On May 29, 2025, a South Korean Navy Lockheed P-3 Orion maritime patrol aircraft took off from Polhang Air Base for a routine takeoff and landing training flight. Just 6 minutes into the mission, the plane inexplicably crashed into a nearby mountainside, erupting in flames upon impact. On October 11, 2022, a Boeing 747 known as the Dreamlifter and operated by Atlas Air departed from Taranto Grottaglie Airport in Italy bound for Charleston, carrying a Boeing 787 fuselage section. Thick black smoke churning around the left main landing gear, followed by the dramatic detachment of a 100 kg wheel assembly, which plummeted into a vineyard off the runway. September 2, 2017, a historic Anton Ove An-2 biplane crashed during demonstration flights at the Chernoye airfield near Balashikha, Moscow region. The aircraft was not certified for aerobatics. Its airworthiness certificate had expired since 2012, and neither pilot held type-specific certification. While video from the US AFM-Q9 being intercepted by a Russian Su-27 over the Black Sea and sprayed with fuel jettisoned by the flanker. On September 17, 2011, a vintage plane built in 1958 plunged into the runway during a performance at the Thunder over the Blue Ridge Airshow near Martinsburg, West Virginia. The crash site was well removed from the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and
In Yakutia, Russia, an An-2 plane made an emergency landing just a few meters from tourists on the lakeshore. This rare US Navy Boeing P-8 Poseidon gracefully executes a precise touch-and-go procedure. showcasing advanced maritime patrol capabilities while maintaining flawless control and speed on the runway.
On the deck, below the bridge wing.
Ever wondered how helicopters refuel while still flying? Watch as specially equipped helicopters connect with airborne tankers via an extended fuel hose, all while maintaining perfect formation at high speeds. Stay tuned to see this complex procedure unfold from multiple breathtaking angles. When a plane suffered a sudden engine failure causing it to lose power and ultimately crash into the sea, the pilot managed to escape the wreckage and, demonstrating exceptional composure, swam through the open water to safety. All occupants survived and the aircraft sustained substantial damage and was subsequently written off. This video demonstration is of the powerful jet blast takeoff and the crazy people hanging on for life at Princess Juliana International Airport. The airport is named for the Crown Princess of the Netherlands who landed here in 1944. On February 27, 2017, a Dreamliner aircraft performed an emergency fuel dump over the skies of Lesser Poland, a procedure typically executed to reduce the aircraft's weight for a safe landing, which drew attention from passengers who observed the unusual sight in the clear afternoon sky. On March 1, 2018, a passenger on a British Avro RJ-85 captured a dramatic moment in the air as the TESJet aircraft they were traveling on exploded in mid-air. The small plane carrying 96 passengers exploded after smoke billowed from its engine following takeoff from Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. Shortly after takeoff, passengers observed thick smoke emerging from the left-hand engine. Before long, the engine experienced an unconstrained turbine failure, with parts visibly breaking apart and hanging loose outside the wing. An Aeromexico flight carrying 103 people crashed just after taking off from an airport in northern Mexico, forcing passengers to escape via the emergency slides before the aircraft went up in flames. All passengers survived. During the takeoff roll from Guadalajara Air Base, the captain started the rotation and the nose gear lifted up. At the same time, the left engine exploded. The captain decided to abandon the takeoff procedure and started an emergency braking procedure. A few seconds were necessary for the nose to land back on the runway. Then the aircraft was unable to stop within the remaining distance. It overran, lost its undercarriage and came to rest, bursting into flames. All 28 occupants were rescued. The aircraft was totally destroyed by a post-crash fire. On April 9, 2009, the Turkish crew of the recently delivered CL-215 failed to lower the landing gear before impacting the runway. The aircraft managed to perform a touch and go. They then lowered the landing gear while on approach and landed safely with a 10-foot gash in the fuselage hull. The aircraft was repaired and, as of Jan 2010, was registered as TCT-KJ. A Singapore Airlines flight to Milan caught fire early on June 27, 20 while making an emergency landing in Singapore, but all passengers on board escaped unharmed.
Sorry. Yes, I forgot my bag. Sorry.
Private jet traveling from New York to Mexico has crashed in what is the second aviation incident in 24 hours after a helicopter plummeted in the Hudson River on April 11, 2025.
We're alive. Thank you, Catastrophic Failures. Oh my kids.
Two Alpha jets from the Patrouille de France collide during a training exercise in Haute-Marne, France. The pilots managed to eject. One of the aircraft collided with a silo at a nearby industrial facility, causing a fire to break out. The second aircraft reportedly landed in a canal. On August 10, 2013, a Brian Douglas BA-100 airplane conducted a forced landing near Killian, Texas. The pilot, who was the sole occupant, was not injured. According to the pilot's statement and an onboard video, the engine experienced a partial loss of power after takeoff. While executing a crosswind turn, the engine experienced a total loss of power. The pilot maneuvered to execute a forced landing into trees.
And it's still recording. Hi everybody, you survived a plane crash. You're on camera.
The flight from Beijing to San Francisco was cancelled due to a mechanical failure that affected both engines on May 26, 2025.
It's like when I used to travel.
Unbelievable. This duck remained perched on the wing of an airliner all along a 3,000k flight.
Oh my gosh!
Pilot of a single Zenifly Pelican makes a textbook emergency landing on a highway in Garuva in the north of Santa Catarina, Brazil. There were two people on board, the pilot and the owner of the plane, and no one was injured.
Manda pra mim.
Para, vê se tá bem.
As it descends onto the notoriously low approach runway of Skiathos, this British Airways plane comes incredibly close to a crowd of eager spectators gathered just near the beach. The airport closed and the runway closed due to this incident. All crew on board the aircraft survived. The British Warbird pilot Mark Levy was part of a 21-airplane formation in the annual airshow at Duxford, England, when the P-51 he was flying had a partial engine out. That one split-second decision when he turned right before the main road saved countless lives. He is a fantastic pilot.
O cara não para não. Segura não, amigo. Segura não, segura não, amigo. Segura não.
On August 15th, 2024, a small aircraft tragically crashed into a hangar at an airfield in Goiânia, Brazil, startling nearby person.
Ele saiu. Amassou a porta, ó.
A small plane flipped and crashed upside down along the shoreline of Santa Monica Beach on December 22, 2022. The pilot made the emergency landing after reporting engine issues. The plane had just departed from the Santa Monica airport. We've got an unexpected passenger aboard a commercial aeroplane, a bird. That's right. Somehow this feathered flyer snuck its way into the cabin and chaos ensued. US Navy sailors assigned to Underwater Construction Team 2 rendered immediate assistance to the passengers and crew of Air Niugini flight after it crashed into the Lagoon near Chuuk, Federated States of Micronesia International Airport, on September 28, 2018. Everybody aboard the Boeing 737 plane was able to safely evacuate. Micronesia, located north of Australia and east of the Philippines, has close ties with the US under an agreement known as a Compact of Free Association. An Indigo flight operating from Delhi to Srinagar encountered a sudden hailstorm en route. The flight and cabin crew followed established protocol and the aircraft landed safely in Srinagar. Fortunately, there were no injuries, after a Cessna 28 ended up in a wooded area while trying to take off from Cupica Corregimiento Aerodrome in Colombia. The North American XB-70 was an extraordinary and groundbreaking aircraft, designed during the Cold War era to cruise at speeds exceeding Mach 3 at altitudes above 70,000 feet. Pushing the boundaries of aviation technology at the time. On June 11, 2017, in northeastern France, a vintage Spitfire flipped dramatically during its takeoff roll at an airshow, ending up inverted just a few meters from the crowd. On August 5, 2017, a United States Marine Corps MV-22 Osprey took off from the amphibious assault ship USS Bonhomme Richard and headed for the USS Green Bay as part of an exercise. On August 2, 2023, a private seaplane crashed in Russia's northern Krasnoyarsk region near the banks of the Dudinka River. Responders extinguished the fire.
Ёб твою мать!
On July 24, 1993, two Russian jets crashed at an air display in Gloucester. The single-seat MiG-29 fighters collided in front of a crowd of 250,000 people at Fairford, near Swindon. In the span of a few hours on June 2025, nearly a third of Moscow's strategic bomber fleet was destroyed or damaged, with cheaply made drones sneaking into Russian territory. On 22 March 2021, an aircraft carrying a senator and two others made a forced belly landing at Ji-Parana Aerodrome in Brazil after its landing gear failed to extend. Both the normal and emergency systems were inoperative, and the aircraft slid along the runway for approximately 300 meters before coming to a stop. On 10 February 2025, a private twin commander made an emergency belly landing at Sorokaba State Airport without deploying its landing gear due to a malfunction. All 4 occupants aboard escaped without injury.
Ебать! Пиздец, развалился нахуй! Ебать! Пиздец!
A small plane made an emergency landing in Canarana, Brazil, after an electrical failure. The incident occurred on a farm and all occupants are fine. Part of the fuselage of the plane was damaged as well as the propellers. On 21 June 1997, during the Slovak International Air Display held at Bratislava Airport, a Russian Knight's Sukhoi Su-27 flanker arrived with its landing gear retracted and performed an emergency nose wheel up touchdown during its arrival sequence. Fortunately, touching down without injuries to the pilot, an incident that briefly closed the runway and left only minor damage to the aircraft. Experienced the adrenaline-pumping, gut-wrenching takeoff of the C-17 military transport in this incredible 2013 demonstration video, where the massive aircraft performs a seemingly vertical climb that defies expectations for such a heavy airfort. The V-22 Osprey's massive flight-adverse rotary tension causes the English eco-electric F-1 Lightning to brake. Luckily, F-1 pilot who was completing his tethered in-flight training was unharmed. On October 5, 1991, during deck trials aboard the Soviet aircraft carrier Admiral Gorshkov, test pilot attempted a vertical landing in the Yakovlev Yak-141. Due to a combination of strong crosswinds, the deck's limited area, and excessive descent speed, the undercarriage impacted the stern, rupturing a fuel tank and igniting a serious fire. Today, that same airframe is exhibited at the Yakovlev Museum, repaired in the 1992 olive grey livery with 141 markings. During the Hoover maneuver, one of the planes loses engine power and the pilot ejects mid-air just before the jet crashes. The crash was caused by engine airflow disruption, and exhaust from one plane was sucked into the other's intake, leading to catastrophic engine failure. The arrival of the V-22 Osprey at Clove Lakes Park caused unexpected chaos as the aircraft's massive tilt rotors unleashed a torrent of wind, snapping tree branches, drawing the attention of onlookers and aviation enthusiasts. The Spitfire airplane executes a full 360-degree maneuver high in the sky, but as the pilot loses control mid-flight, the aircraft spirals downward uncontrollably and crashes violently into the ground, triggering a massive explosion. In a tense moment over the Baltic Sea, a Russian fighter jet executed a risky maneuver by flying dangerously close to a Swedish Saab JAS-39 Gripen during a routine NATO patrol. On June 1, 2008, during an airshow in Lake Bracciano, an Italian army helicopter was in the final stage of its display when a dramatic miscalculation occurred. As the aircraft performed a low-altitude feeler maneuver, it descended too steeply, struck the lake's surface with its fuselage and tail rotor.
Oddio! Oddio, raga!
According to reports, the tail of the aircraft opened 30 minutes after takeoff. The band was returning from a show in São Luís, Brazil. The plane returned to Hugo da Cunha Machado Airport in an emergency landing. The crew and passengers were rescued. Footage showed the fall of a fire department helicopter in Vicente Pires, Brazil. The aircraft was headed to the courtyard of a college to respond to an incident. Fortunately, none of the occupants suffered serious injuries. The aircraft, frequently used for medical care, is about 12 years old. A Mi-26 military transport helicopter operated by the Border Service of the Federal Security Service of Russia collided with a lighting mast at Yakutsk Airport on July 27, 2023. A dramatic takeoff from Greece's Skiathos Airport, known for its extremely short runway and proximity to a public road just meters from the runway threshold, captivated startled tourists alike as a jet roared down the tarmac, buffeting onlookers standing behind the fence by intense jet blast. The small plane that crashed into the pool of a resort on the shores of Lake Furnace, Brazil on February 20, 2021 presented mechanical failure shortly after taking off from an airport in the same region. It is possible to hear the engine choking and stopping working, with fright from the cameraman. The 3 crew members were rescued and were not seriously injured. On 21 October 2016, an Airbus cargo jet, flight from Sao Paulo, suffered a nose gear collapse during its landing rollout at Recife Guararapes Gilberto Freire International Airport, following a landing gear asymmetry caused by one engine advancing into reverse while the other remained at idle, which led the aircraft to veer off the runway, exit onto soft ground, and have its nose gear buckle. During a Russian air show, the Mi-8 helicopter pilots amused the crowd with a surprise. Instead of dropping the usual flares or supplies, they released a cascade of stuffed animals, turning a serious military demonstration into a light-hearted spectacle. On April 21, 2016, a Mooney M20K crashed when it impacted terrain during an aborted takeoff from Woodland State Airport, Woodland, Washington. An F-16 jet fighter crashed after running off the end of the runway at high speed during the 2011 EAA Fly-In Airshow at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Its nose gear collapsed immediately and dug into the dirt. A huge spray of dirt shot up, perhaps 50 feet into the air. Smoke and a flame grew from the tail end. You can see the canopy open and the pilot exited unharmed. On April 15, 2012, a helicopter crashed over a neighborhood in Antigua, Guatemala. The pilot lost control of the aircraft, leading to a collision with a residential area. During a height-velocity curve test conducted with an MD-900 helicopter, thanks to proper handling and rapid recovery procedures by the test pilot, the helicopter safely regained power and control. On October 27, 2019, a small plane crashed on landing at Spruce Creek Airport, Volusia County, Florida. The pilot reported that during landing his approach was unstable with an excessive descent rate. On April 25, 2025, a Royal Thai Police aircraft crashed into the sea near Hua Hin Airport during a test flight in preparation for parachute training exercises. On January 6, 2009, during the 2009 Dakar Rally in Argentina, a helicopter associated with the event crashed near La Tranquera. The 2009 Dakar Rally marked the first time the event was held in South America, following its relocation from Africa due to security concerns.
Salgan de ahí! Get out of there!
This plane was landing into the Shelter Cove, California airstrip, the engine sputtering a few times and then the engine went out entirely. 1 man and 1 woman on board, and they are all right. On May 5, 2019, a plane suffered a catastrophic failure during an emergency landing at Moscow's Sheremetyevo International Airport, Russia. The aircraft was reportedly struck by lightning, leading to a major electrical failure that disabled the autopilot and radio communications. On June 28, 2015, a helicopter experienced an engine failure at approximately 500 feet altitude during flight. The sudden loss of power necessitated an immediate auto-rotation. On August 1, 2004, a commercial aircraft was substantially damaged when the main rotor contacted an open hangar door during takeoff, and the helicopter subsequently impacted the ground at Spirit of St. Louis Airport, Chesterfield, Missouri.
God dang! I apologize.
On March 23, 2020, a Kit Fox aircraft experienced an accident at Pierce County Airport in Puyallup, Washington. The small plane was flying from Yelm to Boeing Field in Seattle, but had to make an emergency landing in Parkland, Washington. The plane's pilot, David Acklam, told officials his plane experienced a fuel system malfunction that caused it to stall. Trooper Thompson helped the pilot push the plane off the roadway into a parking lot.
Hello. Woohoo! Shit!
Lots of luck for this pilot who wrongly assessed its takeoff distance. A Stinson registered in British Columbia, Canada, narrowly escapes the grab of trees on short field takeoff. A student pilot made an emergency flight landing on a busy street in Huntington Beach, Los Angeles on June 1, 2018. The pilot was faced with engine troubles before making the emergency landing.
This guy almost ran into me.
An all-Nippon Airways Boeing carrying 193 passengers was damaged during a hard landing at Tokyo Narita Airport, June 20, 2012. Airport weather reports show winds at 230 and 16 knots, gusting to 29 at that time. On October 29, 2015, Dynamic International Airways Flight 405, a Boeing, experienced a significant fire while taxiing for departure at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport in Florida.
Everybody get off? It looks like everybody got off.
I was like,
We're not going to leave anytime.
maybe our Delta 17 is actually cloud.
The incident began when another flight crew observed a substantial fuel leak from the left engine and alerted air traffic control. All 101 occupants evacuated the aircraft using emergency slides. The The fire was caused by a fuel leak due to the failure of maintenance personnel to install the required safety lock wire on a fuel line coupling. This oversight allowed the coupling to disconnect, leading to the fuel leak and subsequent fire. On January 31, 2025, a tragic plane crash occurred in northeast Philadelphia involving a Learjet 55 operated by Jet Rescue Air Ambulance. Approximately 40 seconds after takeoff, the aircraft climbed to an altitude of 1,650 feet before entering a steep descent at a rate of about 11,000 feet per minute. The plane crashed near Roosevelt Mall at the intersection of Cotman Avenue and Roosevelt Boulevard, resulting in a massive explosion and widespread debris.
Okay, come on. We cannot get...
Public spirit. Preliminary findings revealed that the cockpit voice recorder recovered from the wreckage was non-functional and had not recorded the flight, complicating efforts to determine the cause of this case. A biplane crashed during an airshow at a metropolitan Atlanta airport. Pilot error was to blame in a crash during an airshow at DeKalb Peachtree Airport, 2016. On April 11, 2025, a helicopter crashed into the Hudson River in New York. The helicopter lost control soon after turning at the George Washington Bridge to move along the New Jersey shoreline. On November 12, 2022, during the Wings Over Dallas Airshow at Dallas Executive Airport, a mid-air collision occurred between two World War II-era aircraft. The probable cause was inadequate planning and coordination by the airshow's organizers. A small plane with 4 passengers aboard that had lost a wheel upon takeoff made an emergency landing at Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport, Florida on April 28, 2017. The plane then circled the airport to dump fuel before attempting its emergency landing.
which first flew in October of 1947.
On May 2, 1993, during the El Toro Air Show at Marine Corps Air Station El Toro in California, an accident occurred involving a vintage Canadair jet. The impact scattered debris along the runway, but no spectators were injured. Rectech radial engine failures have been linked to several mechanical issues over the years, occasionally resulting in mid-flight power losses or forced landings, and in some cases contributing to accidents involving vintage or home-built aircraft, where these engines are commonly installed. Two planes collided near a terminal gate at Pearson International Airport in Toronto, Canada, on January 1, 2018, forcing hundreds to evacuate the other via an emergency slide.
Crazy. Crashed another plane into a WestJet plane.
On July 8, 2022, an experimental amateur-built Colt Firestar 2 aeroplane was damaged when it was involved in an accident near Cleveland, Georgia. post-accident examination of the airframe, engine and propeller revealed no evidence of any pre-impact mechanical malfunctions or failures that would have precluded normal operation. Nearly 40 years ago today, 3 aircraft belonging to the Italian aerobatic team Frecci Tricolori collided during the traditional air show at Ramstein Air Base in 1988. To this day, no one has politically accepted responsibility for the tragedy. On October 28, 2016, an American Airlines Boeing sustained substantial damage after experiencing an unconstrained engine failure during takeoff at Chicago O'Hare International Airport, Illinois. The right engine suffered an uncontained failure, leading to a severe fire and a successful evacuation of all 170 passengers and crew. Here's some footage of the 720 jetliner crash test. The 1984 controlled impact demonstration conducted by NASA and the FAA used a remotely piloted 720 jet airliner deliberately crashed on the prepared surface of Rogers Dry Lake at Edwards Air Force Base. An airplane crashed at a short takeoff and landing competition in Alaska. During these trials, pilots see who can land the shortest distance. Are you curious how firefighting planes work? Let's see an aerial firefighting aircraft Canadair performing an incredible low-flying maneuver over a lake to refill its water tanks during the California wildfires 2020. The pilot should give instructions for the passengers to walk around the front of the chopper. Or he may have told them, but with some people, instructions go right over their heads. He's lucky he's still got a head. The gear got stuck up due to a broken part in the landing gear, so they flew around for over an hour troubleshooting the problem while talking to mechanics on the ground and ATC.
I recorded that.
Yeah, you did. I want a copy of that.
Oh, nice landing. That was smoother than with gear down.
Fortunately, the pilot was not injured and the glider sustained only minor damage thanks to the flexibility of the trees. The pilot learned from that and was flying safe now. An aircraft was forced to make an emergency landing at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport, Israel, following the detection of a serious technical malfunction mid-flight. Absolutely amazing. A jaw-dropping low approach by a Boeing 747 at St. Martin's Princess Juliana International Airport stunned beachgoers. While landing the tail-wheel-equipped aeroplane during the first test flight, the airplane bounced several times. The airplane subsequently veered left off the runway and both wings sustained damage. Close call in Kedarnath, India, as idiots attempt a dangerous helicopter selfie. On September 2, 2023, a gender reveal party in Sinaloa, Mexico over the weekend turned into a tragedy when a small plane crashed in front of oblivious guests. Nice to see a plane that actually requires a pilot to operate it, unlike the push-button aircraft of today.
Oh my God.
On February 28, 2021, a Luscombe 8E crashed near Jupiter, Florida. Based on available information, it is likely that the pilot became distracted when the cowling opened during takeoff and did not maintain control of the airplane. Flames and thick white smoke spewed from the engine of a Southwest Airlines flight from Houston to Cancun. On January 22, 2016, a helicopter crashed when one of its propellers struck the ground, causing damage to the aircraft in the Dominican Republic. A Bell 206 Long-Ranger helicopter crash was caught on video, capturing the dramatic moment it went down. Fortunately, all occupants escaped without injury.
Ei, tá caindo. Tô filmando. Espera aí, tô filmando, pô.
These pilots just give a good show for the crowd, but be careful, everyone. The finish line is here. Don't forget to give us a like button and share your road encounters in the comments. And don't miss the video on the right side of the screen. See you soon.